draw your kind attention. Is it okay? Yeah, I think I am audible now. Sorry, I thought I'm loud enough. Okay, so I wanted to bring your kind attention in beginning one or two slides just to tell what are all the the current scenario and how maybe the possible interventions which we can think of, and maybe the rest of my slides is only the little bit contributions what we have done from CSR CFTRI, which I can always cut short. I hope I think I can the respected chairman maybe around 10 minutes time, sir. Yeah, sure. I will be very brief. Actually, if you see millets, the first point is processing. See, what I wanted to draw your attention is, we have heard a lot about millets, and then still, and the one thing is, millets, they are known for their nutritional the significance, but still the same tribal population and many of the traditional consumers are using millets. But as our studies or our reports say that the malnutrition has not come down. Okay, so that is the two different thing. And we also know that millets are so healthy. It is known. They are significant. They are called as nutri-cereals. And why people are not using it, and what is the problems? So I'll directly jump into the processing. If you see pearl millet and finger millet, it contains naked caryopsis. That means it is a naked grain. There is no husk. If you see other millets similar to paddy, the other millets, they contain paddy husk, which is a non-edible component. So dehusking will become primary processing. And you have to remember, in paddy milling also, what happens, if you like 100 grains, if you dehusk, not all 100 grains will get dehusked at a time. So depending upon the grains properties, the efficiency of dehusking varies, right? So but paddy milling or rice milling industry is so well developed. You will see the milling industry, it is even mobile operated. And similar is the case of wheat. That is not found in case of millets. That is first point. So all the other millets, foxtail to brown top, there is a latest addition to the group, contains husk. So the challenges are, we have to dehusk it. And then, as I told, it is when you dehusk, it is a mixture of husked and dehusked grain. How do you separate it? You know, when I used to go to school, I still remember my mother used to have it's a winnower type, and she used to clean the paddy from rice, 1 or 2 paddy. Nowadays, if you see in the market, rice, even in the rice distributed in PDS system also, you don't find any paddy unless there is a quantity, the quality is too poor. Okay, so it is so well developed, but that is not the case of millet, because their color sorters have come into picture. Okay, and these millets, they are grown, the stories I need not repeat. What happens, the government gives a subsidy for rice and wheat, so millets it won't. But you know that the people in the agriculture university, they know it is a very little input for millets to grow, right? But still millets are sold at 80 to 160 rupees per kg. So why so? The main problem is the technology for processing it. There is a primary processing machineries which are not very well developed. That is one problem. And then you can use the rice milling machineries for dehusking. But how do you separate? Because millets, you don't get subsidy, and then millet players and millet industry is a small players. So, but for the Nasik region of Maharashtra, they have very well established millet industry, and then they over polish actually, they over polish millet, and they do use color sorters. But color sorters is not affordable by all the millet players. So that is one point. And another point is, if you see pearl millet, foxtail and little millet, they do readily undergo rancidity. That is because of the lipase present in it. So the shelf life will become an issue. So if there is no shelf life, how do you market it? How do you keep it for a longer time? So that is another point. And the most important is millets, because we heard the previous speakers mentioning the person who is the cook, if you have to go for millet cooking, it takes a lot of money more and time more, so many things. That is because millets, it is rightly mentioned, it contains a lot of dietary fiber, but it hinders the organoleptic means sensory properties. It is, see, the point is we have to make a compromise between the nutrition and the consumer acceptability. See, we are all ruled by tongue. If it is not tasty, consumer won't accept it. So, the most important is we have to target the youth because they need convenience. It only happens in TV advertisement that you can make several breakfasts at a time. That is not true. Whether it is a working wife or a housewife, only one breakfast. She cannot make, okay, a person at home is diabetic, okay, I can make millet khichdi for him, and for somebody else rice khichdi. No, that is not possible. Everybody needs convenience. So there is a lack of convenient foods existing from millets. That is a major problem. And as now I don't say this word like there is a lack of awareness. Everybody knows millet is nutritious. So what is the intervention, what we can do? The primary, because I told you the primary thing is processing, we can always think of including a separator. See, if you see the color sorter is a costly one, we have to develop an indigenous gravity separator where you can dehusk, the separate husked and dehusked grains. And millets after dehusking, it is like your brown rice. See, brown rice, even though it is healthy, we don't it gives the chewy texture. So nobody will likes it so much every day. Arey, itna to khana hai aur kya khana wahi hai. So every day nobody will like, okay, fine. So we can go for polished rice. So that is what the mentality it comes. So you have to make judicially polish it. Unfortunately, millet also the same scenario I'm observing. At southern states, we don't polish millet. We use brown millet. At northern, that too in Nasik, if you see, they sell it as a bugger and it is over polished. So the same is the case. Either the grain is deprived of nutrition or it is under polished. So, not at all polished. So two things are happening. So that is pre-processing each grain is important. We heard that some of our previous speakers were talking about the phytate. The phytate is high in finger millet. So and finger millet also contains, it is a rich source of calcium. But you should understand that only 30% of that calcium is bioaccessible. So how do you make it more bioaccessible? So for each millet, each grain is unique. So each grain has its own plus and minus. So we have to tackle each grain, how we have to process it and what is the target population you are aiming at. If you are aiming at diabetes, if you are aiming at obese population, you are aiming at some other product, okay, millets, they contain lot of dietary fiber. And I want to correct the previous speaker. Somebody told me that, was mentioning that it contains a lot of soluble fiber. No. With my 25 years of experience, millet contains lot of insoluble fiber. If it is a soluble fiber, it would have been sold like your oats, because oat contains lot of soluble fiber and beta glucans. Okay, so this contains insoluble fiber, but the plus point is it contains lot of phytochemicals. That is the nutraceutical components, which are always healthy, which are always beneficial. So you have to process it accordingly and you have to tackle it accordingly. So if you're looking at mothers and school-going children, then you have to process it so that its content, phytate content is reduced, its nutrition is more absorbed by the body. It doesn't matter that how much you eat. It matters that how much the body can absorb it. So if you come to the processing, raw grains, it is only dehusking and it is a mixture of husked and dehusked grain, and they go for manual separation. This is the current scenario existing in India. So what happens, he goes for manual separation. In case of foxtail millet, I want to tell you, separation of husked and dehusked both looks, light yellow in color. It is very difficult. So he goes for manual separation, and the shelf life issues, he sells it for whatever the rate he wanted, because they are cashing, see, it is a health conscious people, this segment is increasing. So they want to cash upon it. The media also says, okay, millets are good and so many things. It's good only. So they want to encash it and then it's sold at such a higher price. And another thing, what we suggest is you go for de-husking, go for the husked and de-husked grains, you can go for mechanical separation, which eases the burden. Then go for 2 to 3% of polishing, wherein your cooking quality improves, your absorption of nutrients will improve, and also you can always give the better nutrients. See, if you are aiming at a product for obese people or diabetes people, go for brown millet. I don't say no. But if you are aiming it for, if you want to implement it ICDS program or safety net programs of government, do 2 to 3% polishing, which gives this advantage, because in case if there is a husked millet present in it, that also will get it dehusked, taste will improve. If there is no taste, no acceptability, it is very difficult to sustain in the market. And bioavailability of the nutrients also will improve, and shelf life also will increases. But yes, there is a loss of some percentage of nutrient. This we can play very carefully. So this I don't want to mention it again. These are all the the advantage of semi-polishing, which we are proposing now. And we, similar to rice, we say that what is the degree of polishing required for each millet. We are taking that studies also. But in case of, I told ragi and pearl millet, yes, it is naked caryopsis, and ragi, it has got very soft endosperm. You can make only flour-based product out of it. So what they do, if you want to refine it, you have a technology, you can always temper it, and then you make a leather, seed coat leathery, and you refine it. And in case of this pearl millet also, you can polish it 2 to 3%. That is possible. So you can reduce the